This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Listen to the band.
And welcome back to the show. You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650, and this show is with NexGen Hearing, Dr. Ted Venema, registered audiologist, PhD. And so when you go into a NexGen Hearing location, it's not always an audiologist.
No, it may be very well be a hearing instrument practitioner, HIP.
And they can do, you have a PhD in front of your name, but that's most people wouldn't need that.
That's because I was too stupid to quit going to school. I just kept staying in school. Actually, I wanted to teach.
Yeah.
So, but an audiologist in Canada has a master's degree.
Okay.
From either UBC or Dalhousie in Halifax,
Coast,
or from Western Ontario, okay, or from Université d'Ottawa or Montreal, okay. Those are about the only schools. About 5 schools in Canada that will offer the master's in audiology. And then there's colleges that offer a 2-year diploma as a hearing instrument practitioner. And what's the difference? Hearing instrument practitioner fits adults with hearing aids. Kind of like optician compared to optometrist.
Sure.
But the audiologist will do the same thing, fits adults with hearing aids, but can also fit babies, infants. They can do brainwave testing in case someone's lying for workers' comp. They're more sleuth-like. They work a little bit more with cochlear implants. They do more balance testing. So audiologists have a broader scope of practice, but for the most part, most audiologists are doing what an HIP does, hearing instrument practitioner, namely.
But at the level of NexGen Hearing, that's more than sufficient to...
Absolutely, because NexGen Hearing is mostly servicing the adult with hearing loss. Mrs. McGillicuddy, who's having trouble hearing her grandkids.
So that's
the bulk of the population, by the way. 95% of people with hearing loss are adults who are 65 plus. And the word for that is presbycusis, hearing loss in the elderly. Presbyterian, Church of the Elders. Presbycusis, hearing in the elders.
All right, so our next guest is from Resound, Victoria McLeod.
Yes.
And we're going to find out what they specialize in now on Boomer Life.
The Link Square, that would be, without a doubt, the most successful hearing aid Resound has ever launched. It has a dual-core computer chip, actually, which means that it's pretty darn smart. It's really fast. It's more powerful, actually, that computer chip, than the computer system that put the first person on the moon, remarkably enough. It does millions of calculations a second. So just like Ted was saying, that allows it to be really smart and try to take out some of that noise, try to make it easier for the signal-to-noise ratio. It really means that it also takes care of feedback extremely well. It allows people wearing it to hear their environment much more naturally and more clearly than ever before. It even has now a new integrated spatial sense technology, which means that it's designed to give users a really vivid sense of space and speech with great sound quality.
So can it
computer chip.
Can it tell you like it's coming from one side versus the other? Because that's a more natural sound, right?
Yes, absolutely. And there are some companies that have been compensating for that idea of where sound is in space, but other companies do not. And this was something that Resound brought into its portfolio in this past year. So imagine, going out and hearing the sounds of nature, right? And oftentimes you're thinking, well, that's a lovely call. I wonder where that is. Well, where's the bird in the tree? Hearing aids sometimes do not actually preserve the cues that allow you to find where the bird is in the tree, so you can be craning your neck all around. And so with the Resound Spatial Sense, you actually have the ability. It preserves those cues so that you look in the right direction. It is much more natural.
So how does that work? Like you have this system. Can you explain how it works?
Well, the hearing aids are actually now communicating. And so hearing aids, the left ear and the right ear, share information back and forth with each other. So they can actually start to tell, a sound hit one ear a little earlier than it hit the other ear. That's what happens naturally as we hear with humans. That's how you can tell when you're about to step off the curb what direction this car is coming from. Right? You turn your head in the proper direction because that sound wave hits one ear the sound closer to the car before that sound hits the other ear. And in hearing aids, those cues have not always been maintained, keeping the loudness louder on one side versus the other. And we're now preserving that in Resound, giving you a sense of spatialness, spatial awareness, hence why we call it spatial sense.
Okay, so you have other benefits as well, like the connectivity we talked about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in 2010, we introduced wireless technology, brand new to the market. No one had ever had a truly wireless hearing aid before, which means that it allows you to connect to the TV wirelessly with no other intermediary devices. That's intermediary devices is a big word, just simply meaning your hearing aids talk directly to a TV, or they can be paired to talk directly to your phone. So there's nothing else on you that you have to add in order to make that system work. And that was way back in 2010, and we've continued to evolve that system so that, as Ted has mentioned, it's really important that you are able to hear in every environment that you go into. And just wearing hearing aids on their own doesn't necessarily do that for you. As you were mentioning, Zach, when you're in a noisy environment, you don't wear hearing aids. You don't have a hearing loss as far as you know. Yet you find that a challenging environment.
Yes.
Right? Imagine if you had a tiny little microphone that you could hand to somebody, and that microphone beamed their voice directly into your ears.
So that's like when I do TV, I wear the little lapel mic.
Yep.
So that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, and
That is exactly.
Yeah, the net effect is like bringing the hearing aid up to the lips of the speaker.
Yeah, well, that would make a massive difference in a busy restaurant, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So Resound pioneered technology that in some instances can allow people with a hearing loss to actually do better in really challenging environments than people with no hearing loss.
Yeah, that's what I was. I was at a Christmas party recently, and it was noisy, and I was struggling. And but it was just the amount of talking and clanging and what was going on in the background. Now, I guess so. You say, okay, you can connect right to the TV or what have you. So you do have the ability to also go in there and change settings, right? You must have an app, or can you change like an outdoor setting versus an indoor setting versus a noisy room or a quiet space?
Yeah.
Can you do all that?
Yeah, so we have all of that available. So there's actually two levels of adjustability with Resound, and I think it's fairly common now, has been for several years, that many manufacturers offer very basic remote control. So something that you fish out of your pocket, or maybe it's hanging around your neck, and you can change programs and volume control. That's been fairly standard now for a few years. But in the world of Resound, we have an app. It's called the Smart app. And if you're using a hearing instrument that you've purchased from Resound in the past 3 years or so, the Smart app may very well work for you. And what the Smart app does is it works on a Samsung Galaxy 5, 6, or 7, the Apple products, all the current generations of Apple products. And you download the app, and not only are you able to now control your volume and your program, but you can also start to modify the sound characteristics. Just like in your car when you want to crank up the bass, to really hear, appreciate a piece of music. You can do the same thing. You can adjust your bass and treble using our Smart app. Some people, using this correct level of technology with Resound, can even go in and alter the noise reduction, just as you're saying, Zach. So if you're sitting in the restaurant and thinking, gosh, this is really bad, this Christmas party has just kicked up a notch, you can go into your Smart app and increase your level of noise reduction so that it's less impactful for you. That noise is less bothersome for you. You can even narrow a directional beam, like really squeeze in so that you're really focusing on the person right in front of you. You can reduce the amount of wind noise that you're hearing. So the amount of customization you can do through our app is remarkable. And then there's something called Find My Hearing Aid.
I was going to say, these are tiny now, right? We talked about the big banana, but that's long gone. And so does the app find the misplaced hearing aid?
They really do. People love this feature. They get a lot of delight. And we actually, not only is it like a delightful device, it actually has truly had an impact on end users. We have all sorts of stories of people who misplace their hearing aids. It happens. They are very tiny. And using the app, you just simply can find out if they're in your room, or even if they're down the street, if you left them at a playground. They fell out while you were at a playground. We have stories exactly like that of people recovering their technology just through the use of our app.
A very special thank you to Victoria McLeod from Resound. We also had on the show Janet Clark and Sean Riley, representing three different hearing aid manufacturers.
That's right.
And this is just a sort of a sample of what's out there.
It's just a sample. That's true.
And so for people who are listening to the show that have somebody in their life that they know that they have some kind of hearing loss, but they're fighting with that person to try and get them in. Yeah. So what kind of tricks have you learned to get people to come in for a hearing, just as simple as a hearing test?
First of all, give good information. People drink information like water. Explain in plain English. And that's what NexGen folks do, is they talk in English. Not like some pontificating doctor who doesn't have a good bedside manner. So they're going to take your case history and they're going to help you choose which hearing aid, if you need it, by the way, because maybe you don't, but they're going to help you choose your make, your style of hearing aid, your price range, everything. It's a walk they walk with you. Yeah. So they match things to best suit your individual and particular needs. And
then you have quite a while to get it right.
Yeah, you'll walk out if you decide you'd like to go ahead, if you need hearing aids and you've come to an agreement as to which style and which pair you'd like or whatever. You will walk out of a NexGen office for 3 weeks with merchandise on your ears, but we'd want to see you after a week. Come on back in. Let's how are you doing with these things? You have any questions? Can I tweak things? Blah blah blah. After 2 weeks, come on in again. Let's see how you're doing. We want to find out how you are doing, and if you're having questions, what's your experiences. And then after 3 weeks, you'd pay if you wanted to continue.
Right.
Then you'd put your money down, but you have an additional 2 months, 69 days to keep wearing them and come in for servicing and what have you. And only at the end of that 90 days do you really commit to whether you wanted to keep the hearing aids or not.
So up until the 90 days, you could still return them.
Yep. And that's the beauty of it all. With the great technology that's out there, with the fact that hearing tests are free, with NexGen's unique application of client service, you have no reason why not to. If you're struggling with hearing loss, now is the time.
And there are locations throughout the Lower Mainland, and it started on the island, but it spread to the Lower Mainland.
Absolutely. It started on the island, and it was called Mainland, and now Mainland.
Isn't that ironic? It was on the island, it was called Mainland.
Yeah. No, the offices here were called Mainland.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then the offices on the island were called NexGen, and the ones in the interior were called NexGen. Now they've all merged under the umbrella of NexGen. So I'd say there are about 40 different offices.
That's quite a few.
BC. Yep.
Yeah, and it's easy to get in there and get an appointment and get going.
Absolutely, whether you're on the island, Lower Mainland, or interior. And any NexGen office, by the way, will be able to help you if you've bought a hearing aid from some office here in the mainland and you're on the island, drop in a NexGen office over there. They're all connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Dr. Ted Venema, our registered audiologist, who's our expert on this NexGen Hearing show, Boomer Life. It's always great to see you.
It's great to be back.
It's a new year and a new resolution, maybe to go and get tested.
No
That's
kidding.
Just start there.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to Victoria McLeod, Janet Clark, and Sean Riley, who are also on the guest. That's all the time we have for this week's show. Dr. Ted, we'll see you soon.
Cheers.
And that's all I'm repeating myself now. That's what happens. That's all the time we have. We'll speak to you next time right here on CL 650.